So now you have an idea on the product that you're going to sell. But the question is, who are you going to sell them to? So now we're going to talk about getting to know the market. So here are the basic questions in market research. The first is why. So the goal here is to answer the purpose and objective for conducting the market research. Next is what. So this determines the scope and the limitations of the market research to be conducted. So next is which. So this determines which segment of the market must be studied. So this also must be the market segment that the entrepreneur is eyeing. Next is who. So this identifies who among the members of the selected market segment will participate in the market research. Next is when. So this determines the time and timing of the research. This is critical for entrepreneurs whose product or service will be offered to a time-constrained market such as office workers. Next is where. So this pinpoints the relevant location of the market research. And last is how. So this determines the methodology to be used for market research. So for example, you can use a survey, a focus group discussion, or an observation technique. As said earlier, there are different ways that you can use for your market research. So we have the focus group discussion, the observation technique, and the survey research. The first one is the focus group discussion. So, a focus group is a small group discussion guided by a trained leader. So, it is used to learn about opinions on a designated topic and to guide future action. Focus group discussions can be used to address substantive issues such as understanding consumers' perceptions, preferences, and behavior concerning a product category, obtaining impressions on new product concepts, generating new ideas about older products, developing creative concepts and copy material for advertisements, securing price impressions, and obtaining preliminary consumer reaction to specific marketing programs. Focus group discussions usually last for an hour and a half up to 3 hours. So it's an interview by a facilitator of a small group of people who are selected because of their knowledge about the topic. So now let's proceed to the steps in conducting a focus group discussion. The first is to develop the research objectives. So this will discuss what is the research all about. Of course, you can't proceed with your research if you don't have any objectives to follow. The second step is to determine the participant's profile. So this will discuss who are the most knowledgeable or most relevant participants. So in order to get meaningful insight in your focus group discussion, you must select participants who are most knowledgeable regarding the said topic. In your case, they could be the customers who buy similar products to what you're about to offer. The third step is to determine the appropriate token or compensation for the participants. Obviously, you're going to take time off of them, and they deserve a little token or compensation for their contribution in your focus group discussion. The fourth step is to develop a participant screening questionnaire. Well, not everyone is the right person for your focus group discussion. Using a questionnaire to screen them out is the best course of action to find out who among the participants would be the best fit for your focus group discussion. After finding out who you want to add in your focus group discussion, the next step would be to recruit them. So you have to recruit the participants for them to participate in your focus group discussion. So next is to select a good facilitator. The key qualities of a good facilitator are kindness with firmness, involvement and encouragement, complete understanding, flexibility, and sensitivity. The next step is to develop a facilitator's discussion guide. So this will help the facilitator in asking the key questions that you need to be answered for your focus group discussion. The eighth step is to arrange for the venue and logistics. So you are the one who is assigned in finding a place where the focus group discussion will happen. So it's up to you, not to the facilitator, to find a place where the focus group discussion will take place. And the last part in conducting a focus group discussion is to analyze the results of the focus group discussion. Using the data that you've gathered in your focus group discussion, you can create meaningful insight based on the answers of the participants. And you can use these answers to find out the next course of action for your business. Another market research methodology that you could use is the observation technique. In this method, there is no need for any interaction with other people. All you have to do is observe the customer's behavior when it comes to their buying and spending habits. And before you start the observation, it is important for the researcher to ensure that the following conditions are met. So first, the needed information must be observable or inferable from the behavior that can be observed. This pertains to activities that are usually seen by other people, such as buying groceries. And for obvious reasons, you can't observe the actions of people when they are inside their homes. Second, the subject matter contains some sensitivity that needs detached observation. For example, vote buying is rampant in the Philippines. And when you conduct a research regarding vote buying, only a small percentage of people will admit that they indeed sold their votes. However, the best course of action here is to just study the people outside voting presence. Next, the behaviors of interest must be repetitive, frequent, or predictable in some manner. So for example, you want to find out the buying patterns of consumers when it comes to canned goods. In this case, the observation technique is highly recommended. You can just go to supermarkets and look at people who are buying canned goods. Last, the behaviors of interest must be of a relatively short duration. So if you're going to observe the buying patterns, it will only take a few minutes. However, you cannot observe a person for a very long time, since you would look like a stalker and they'll be creeped out by your actions. So now, let's talk about the guidelines in conducting observation research. As always, the first step is to determine the pre-observation objectives. You have to find out what particular behavior you are going to observe. Next is to prepare your pre-observation tips. So you can prepare and clarify your observation points and issues. Prepare your observation materials. Identify the persons to be observed. And position yourself strategically without being noticed. Next is to focus on what you want to observe. Is it the customer demographics, or their buying behavior, or the customer usage behavior, or is it other customer information? And during your observation proper, you need to observe your targets keenly and listen intently without being noticed by other people. Next is be mindful of the surroundings. You don't want to disturb other people doing their day-to-day routines. You should always be alert for obvious movements, and you should be sensitive to subtle movements as well. You should always look at the customer when the customer is not looking. Of course, they'd be weirded out if they saw you looking at them for a long time. And you should not be obvious. You should also observe and take note of the other things that you feel are important. Yes, you look like a stalker, but you shouldn't let them know that you are a stalker. And after your observation, you have to review your notes. Did you find anything interesting? You have to make sure that the flow is correct. And you have to tabulate what needs to be tabulated. And then you should interpret and analyze your data. And last is to make a formal report. So with all the data you've gathered in your observation research, you can find out some ideas that are worth noting for your next course of action in your business. You might find out the customer's buying behavior and what do they look for in a product, and then you can apply it to the product that you're going to create. The third and last method is the survey research. This could probably be the easiest one to do in our current situation. And you've probably done this countless of times already. So in a survey research, the respondents are asked a variety of questions, which are often about their personal information, their motivations, and their behavior. In conducting a survey research, like the other methodologies, the first step is to develop the research objectives. You'd always need a guideline on what you're going to do, and that would be the objectives. Next is to determine your sample. How many people are you going to send the survey to? Third is to choose the interviewing methodology. Here, you can conduct a face-to-face interview or an interview by phone, or you can even send them an email containing the survey questions. The next step is to create your questionnaire, and then you also have to pre-test the questionnaire. And once your questionnaire is ready, you can now conduct the interviews and enter the data. And of course, in order to gain meaning from those data, you have to analyze them. Analyzing the data gathered from the survey research can give you meaningful insights that you could use for your future decisions. You can use any of the three research methodologies for finding out your target market and if they would actually buy the product that you're going to sell. You can also use them to gather other data that you think would help your business plan. And that's it for this lesson. Goodbye and see you next time.